Okay, question 3 says, in an international ballroom dancing competition, competitors are scored by a panel of judges on a scale from 0 to 100. The final score for each couple is computed as the average of the scores from all the judges. However, here's a condition. If the number of judges is equal to or greater than 6, so 6 or more, and the highest score is given by only one judge, that score is excluded from computing the average. The same applies to the lowest score. So if there's 6 or more judges, and the highest score has only been given by one, or the lowest score has only been given by one, then those are discarded. They aren't included when we're computing the average. So, start out in part A, which says write a method count occurrences that returns the number of occurrences of a given target value in a given array. Complete the method count occurrences below. So you see the description there. The method should return the number of times target occurs among the values in the given array. They give us two parameters, scores, which is an array of values, obviously the scores the judges give, and then target is the target value, both of which are integers. So all the scores they give make up an array of integers. The target goal we're looking for is also an integer. We are asked to return how many times does that target value appear in the scores array. So let's start off writing the header of the method. So public static, again this is a static method because all methods will incorporate, or all objects of this class you would never need multiple occurrences of this method. This is used only in this fashion, not in a specific way for each contestant. Okay, this is a method that would apply to any competitor in the exact same way. So let's see, public static count occurrences is taking in these two parameters. Alright, so our goal is to simply navigate through this list and figure out how many times target appears in the array of scores. So we need to keep track of a count. Anytime we're trying to keep track of the count of something occurring, we want to make a variable to keep track of that. So I'm going to make an integer called count, set it equal to 0. Alright. Now, one little quick note here. I've seen some people in the past not really sure, like, when do we need to put private or public or things like that in front of our variables? Like, should I make this private int count? Things like that. And the answer is no. The only time you ever want to put private or public in front of something is if you are actually writing inside the class, not inside of a method. Inside of a method, there is no public or private. Okay, everything is local to that method. However, if you were defining an entire class, that's when, okay, you're making a method, you declare that the method is public. But everything inside just does not have a notation public or private. If you were making instance variables in a class, you make those private. But again, these are things that we're using to help us accomplish the purpose of the method. Those are not ever declared public or private. So I just want to mention that here, because it seemed like a fitting time to make note that we don't need that type of notation here. Now, we have this count. Now we just need to navigate through the list, through the array, of scores, and keep track of how many times this occurs. So since we're not really concerned with where the target value occurs, like which locations, we're just concerned with how many times it appears, and since we're not going to be changing any of the scores, this will be a good time to use a for each loop. Okay, so remember how this works. You say for each, and you give the data type, what type of data is stored in each location of the array. And so this array holds integers. Alright, and now we come up with a variable name for what we're going to refer to the current score as. So usually a lot of people just use the first letter of whatever the name of the array is, or what the array is holding. So since this holds scores, we'll call each score S as we come to them. And then you give the name of the list after a colon. So this will be for each integer, we'll call it S in scores. We're going to do something with each of those scores. Okay, and all we want to do is check and see, does the current score match this target? If it does, then we want to increase our count for how many times it has occurred in the list or in the array. If it doesn't, we don't want to do anything. So we're going to use one if statement. If S, current score, since it is an integer, we can compare it to this integer value. If it equals the target value, then we want to increase our count. So we simply say count plus plus. Since this is the only line of code, I don't even need braces for this if statement. I will just say, use that one line. The code will know that this goes with the if statement only when it's true. If I wanted to be sure, I'm more than welcome to include braces. I just don't have to. All right. So if it matches, increase the count. If it doesn't, don't do anything. Leave count the way it is. And then go to the next score. That's what we're saying to do here. So then once we've gotten to the end, we should have updated the count every time it occurred. So now we just want to return whatever the count now equals. Okay, and I know I'm supposed to return this because right here tells me I'm supposed to return an integer. So return the count, and that is question 3a. That's the method count occurrences. So then go on to part 3b, where it asks us to write a method to find the maximum and minimum score in the